Hello, welcome to today's edition of Pegasus Test. On today's edition, we're doing training with Tannerite. Using Tannerite as a training tool, it's a double-edged sword. One of the focuses of training, especially when you're doing fire and maneuver training, is to make it real. We all know the only way for it to be real is for the other side to be firing back, and both sides using live bullets will have serious drawbacks. But that being said, Tannerite is a tool in your toolbox to use for training. It's got positives, it's got negatives, and you've got to decide, depending on your training goals and your access to a training area, if it meets your needs. The intent of this video is to show when we tried it as a training tool at Pegasus. We did it in a lane where we had about 200 meters. We had cover on the sides, not cover, we had protection on the sides and a great backstop in the rear. So we had about a 270-degree arc of fire that we could use. It was also a heavily wooded area, which simulated being in a woodland jungle environment. And it had lots of dense cover, making for close engagements, which you would find in a jungle type scenario. We set up certain areas that were considered bunkers, where we placed targets, and we also had a few targets in the open. The rules of engagement were simple. The people moved out in 4-man fire teams with 2 RSOs, and while sometimes you could see the targets at a distance greater than they were being engaged, all participants knew that they could only see the targets that the RSO called out. So you didn't see a target till you hear the RSO go, enemy front 50 meters in a bunker, or enemy in the woods 70 meters, for example. Then the fire team was free to engage and maneuver as necessary. Now the targets were all had these Tannerite quarter-pound increments on them, which, as you can see, fits in the palm of my hand. It's very small, so a small target. These were set into IPSC targets in the head area, so the area that had to be engaged was quite small. Also, one of the rules of engagement was the target was firing back at you and effectively firing on you until you got the Tannerite to go off. If the Tannerite didn't detonate, you had neutralized the target. One of the things we found was the target would go boom, and people would be like, yay, because who doesn't enjoy a good explosion now and then? But we noticed that our participants would then kind of come out of the combat mindset. You know, they would just go, okay, stand up, move on to the next one, without kind of looking around, without doing checks on each other and all that. The other thing we noticed was people got a kind of a target fixation once the first Tannerite went off. They got focused on making the Tannerite go off. And that kind of resulted in where there should have been a greater volume of fire. It was lower as people were taking more precise aim shots. We also noticed that people didn't seem to worry about cover at all in some cases. People would just be standing up or taking a knee in the plane open and thinking, wow, that's enough cover. And it wasn't. But Tannerite, used in conjunction with video cameras, turned out to be a very good training tool overall that I would recommend. And when I say the use of cameras, we used 3 types of cameras. First, we used a video camera, is what you'll see in the upcoming clips. We also used a still camera for getting individual shots of people. And we also had a game camera placed out on the course, which got an interesting perspective on things and I think was a valuable training tool. Tannerite has a purpose. It's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, and it can be a toy just for having fun when used properly. But also, used properly in a training environment, it can give positive feedback. We used quarter-pound increments, as I mentioned earlier. These quarter-pound increments are more than sufficient for what the purposes of the training are. We found that putting them in the head section of an IPSC type target tended to blow the target in half or leave a gaping hole in it. So there was no need to mix and match and make pound or 2-pound packets of Tannerite to have mega explosions. It didn't meet the need. The quarter-pound explosion was more than enough, which is good. Tannerite is not the cheapest substance out there, and this allows you to make your Tannerite last longer and get more training evolutions out of what you do. Now sit back and watch, and watch what people do. And you'll see some individuals taking it very seriously and using proper fire and maneuver techniques. You'll see other individuals just kind of going through the motions. There was reasons for that. Part of it was target fixation. The other part was training levels. The people involved in this had different training levels. And one of the reasons you do team events like fire and maneuver with a fire team element is to get to everybody onto the same common level.
Target front, 25 meters! Muzzle awareness. I don't think it's gone off. I could have sworn I saw a good dust off.
Another enemy target! 40 meters! Left front! End act. Right. Wedge formation. Contact, 1 o'clock. Contact front! Nice. Okay on the right? Yeah. I guess next time they go down, that looks over to you. Oh, I'm not going to that. Contact 11! Contact 11 o'clock! Target down! To the right. On the left. Yep. Oh, badass, dude. Contact bumper! Contact front! Target down! To the right! To the left! To the left! Right, to the left! Contact! Go ahead! Contact front! Number 8! Red! To the right! Yep. First time you ever shot a gun before? Up. Right. Turn to the left. Matt, move your team forward. We'll fall in behind. Good day. Contact, 2 o'clock! Contact, 2 o'clock! Well, that was a good shot. All right. All right. Index. Index!
Contact, 12 o'clock!
Contact front! Ready on the right. Ready on the right. Ready on the left. Ready on the left. Clear. Move forward. We hope you like these training evolutions we've just shown you. It shows, I think, Tannerite has a proper training use. It's not a be-all, end-all by any means, but when used properly, safely, it can be very effective. And I would encourage the use of it under certain conditions, like field training like we've done, with proper safety and RSO supervision. It's an effective training tool. It's not the cheapest training tool out there by any means, so you should be doing several walkthroughs. You should be doing several live fire runs on just regular targets before you go live fire onto the Tannerite to get the most out of your training buck. We hope you found this video informative. We hope you comment, like, and subscribe, and please tune in for future test videos.